place I could think of."
"He must have thought you were turning tricks."
His raucous laughter speaks of appetite, healthy, undamaged, and she joins in, reassured. She is sitting on this bus with a man she scarcely knows, a man with whom she plans to build a life, and perhaps they will be up to it, after all. The apartment is modest, but he did so well to find it that she will not complain. He deposits her suitcase on the bedroom floor, and they stand awkwardly for a moment. She is not quite sure how to launch herself as a wife. There is a marriage to be consummated, but perhaps first she will make a cup of tea. It is a relief to move into the kitchenette.
"How have the last 2 years been for you, dear?"
he asks. She laughs mirthlessly. "Oh, fine, just fine." She had thought she would stay in Adelaide, but it had become difficult. Men seemed to be everywhere. Each morning as she walked into the business college, there would be a flurry of hats removed, of conversations catching in her wake. She felt a little contemptuous. Why weren't they off at the front? But she would still meet their eyes, just to see if they were looking. And they mostly were, and she felt that jolting complicity that men and women do things to one another in bedrooms, as if she needed to be reminded. She went back to the farm, but even here things were not as simple as she remembered. Bobby confided that father had been making the occasional error of judgment. Only last week she had found a stash of empty gin bottles in the barn, hidden behind a bale of hay. "Mother seems a little miserable," she says now, "but I think she was glad of my help." Actually, there had been a strangeness between her and her mother this time. One evening, when she was sobbing on her bed, her mother had come in and taken a brush from the dressing table and brushed out her hair in long, calming strokes, as she had done when she was a child. Surprised by such tenderness, she was prompted to talk. "I feel like Miss Havisham." Her mother paused. "What did you say?" "You know, Miss Havisham, the disappointed bride, great expectations. You have the book in the parlour." "I do not have any such book, and I do not know what you are talking about." Her mother had put the brush down and left the room, and she had reminded herself not to look for sympathy there. "Mother's been working hard with the fowls," she tells her husband now. "Perhaps they'll be able to sell that accursed farm if the war ever ends."
"If it ever does."
"And what about you, dear? How have the last 2 years been for you?" She is not clear on why he was granted a medical discharge from active service. He never seemed the anxious sort, but she is not sure she really wants to know. She wants to preserve him as the go-ahead young man he was in Adelaide when they went out dancing at the Palais. He takes a sip of tea.
"I don't know that I care to talk about that just now."
They finish their tea and sit for a while in silence. Then she stands and moves to the bedroom to make up the bed. Somehow he has a better idea this time of what needs to be done. She doesn't ask why. He is attentive, even industrious, and she is relieved that they have been able to do this thing, that they have earned their status as man and wife. Afterwards he looks at her with such tenderness that she feels a surge of pity and supposes it must be love.
"My ruby, my gemstone."
He curls into her and his breathing slows into sleep. And so she is finally a woman, with her sleeping husband in her arms. But she finds herself weeping on this, her first proper night as a wife. She weeps for the two of them in a bed together in Murray Bridge, wide awake.